Your station, 101 FM, with Saturday Sports Scene.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Scene for another week. We take you through all the latest and greatest issues from the locals all the way to the nationals and internationals here on Sports Scene. Big show planned for you. I'm your host, Kevin Braysher. We're joined by a full panel. Everybody's on board today for what's going to be a good fun show. Joining us with the panel, AFL Queensland Hall of Famer, Mr. Craig Crowley. Craig, welcome to the show.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Very good, thanks, mate. How are we looking this weekend?
Yeah, footy's always great, so it's always going to be good. But, we've got a bit on in the way of the local stuff. So, yeah, we'll talk a bit about that a bit later in the show.
That we absolutely will. Also joining us at the desk from the QRL, Mr. Ethan James. And, Ethan, today we got a special guest on the show as we go through the QRL.
Yeah, morning, Kev. We've got South Logan coach Mark Beaumont was generous enough to donate his time this morning, so we'll have a chat to him in a few minutes, I think.
Absolutely, something to look forward to in about 7 or 8 minutes' time as we go to the first break. Also joining us from the Australian Karting Association, Mr. Lee Hanatscheck. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kev. Great to be with you yet again, back in the studio.
Absolutely, mate. It's always great to have you on board. And also joining us, Mr. Darren Madigan, SportzScene's founding father. And, mate, unfortunately, once again, we wake up to some sad news this morning.
Yeah, we do. Good morning, everybody. It's been a bit of a crazy week. Obviously, the ASADA interviews have started around the place, and wouldn't you know it, one of the schools in Brisbane has been rocked by a steroid scandal. But we wake up this morning to the news that one of our more well-known Australian tennis players of the past 30 years, Brad Druitt, who, much like Paul McNamee, went on to become an administrator and a very highly regarded administrator in the sport, has died of motor neuron disease. Looks like it was rather quick. The sport basically found out about it in January. A lot of the Australians involved in the sport rallied around him, but obviously he's died in May. And at the age of 54, very sad. He made it to number 34 in the world, I think, if memory serves. And he was just one of those players when you were growing up watching the Summer of Tennis on 7, as we always used to know it as. He was one of those players who you always saw each and every week during that month of January. And like Mark Edmondson and McNamee and McNamara and all those guys. So very, very sad to see a great loss. And tennis is a great loss too, because he's given so much to the sport since he stopped playing. Also, we lost a player during the week too, a very young man, Alex Elisala from the North Queensland Cowboys unit. He's currently playing for the Mackay Cutters and had a great game on the weekend, scored a fantastic try. We saw coverage of it up here in North Queensland, and unfortunately he was in hospital pretty much within the day, and we lost him over the weekend. So a Logan boy, originally from, I think, Brothers there in Logan Central, and passed away, so very sad.
Very sad news for the week. Also, it compounds, like we saw earlier in the year, the West Tigers lost a young player too. It's so tragic to see someone go at such young. He's just 20 years old. It really is a sad story. We push on here on Sports Scene. We will say we also have another guest, Mark Beaumont, joining us after the first break. But Craig, we've also got another guest on the show to talk some NEFL.
Yes, we have our interstate game next week, and we'll be catching up with Marty King, who's the chairman of selectors, just to give us a bit of a rundown. He's down in Adelaide at the moment, just previewing a few of the games. So, yeah, Marty will give us an update on what's going on the way of any AFL.
And that's it. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll go quickly through the results at the moment from last night in the NRL Round 8. The Rabbitohs 26 over the Broncos 12 at Suncorp Stadium. Almost 40,000 people packing into Suncorp to see that one. And the Rabbitohs keep on keeping on. They're looking very, very strong this year. And the Bulldogs last night, 40-4 over the West Tigers. Been talking for a long time. When are they going to be back? Well, maybe they are back after that performance last night. Dominant over the West Tigers. In the AFL Round 6, Collingwood 15-13, 103 over St Kilda, 11-11, 77. Collingwood still going strong there to start the year. The Super 15, we have the Chiefs 39-33 over the Rebels in a high-scoring game of football. The Blues 18-17 over the Stormers, the other result from last night. Darren, there's been some international results overnight. Well, firstly in the NBA, a couple of Australian boys are going to meet in the second round of the NBA Finals after Andrew Bogart's Golden State Warriors got through last night and advanced to the next round.
Yeah, they'll play the San Antonio Spurs. Patrick Mills from up this way is actually part of that unit. So it's the only conference semi-final that's actually been decided so far. So San Antonio will play Golden State. The other team that's actually through to that next stage is Miami. They beat Milwaukee, the Timberwolves, that's Minnesota. Milwaukee, they beat them 4-0. Brooklyn 3-3 with Chicago. These are best of 7 finals too, by the way, or semi-finals, by the way. Brooklyn and Chicago are 3-3 at the moment. New York and Boston. New York's ahead 3-2. Indiana 3-2 up over Atlanta. Oklahoma City 3-2 up over Houston. Memphis 3-2 up over the LA Clippers. San Antonio, as we said before, and Golden State are through. And there's one thing you can take from that, Kevin, and that is that the Americans know how to take these best of 7 series right through to the end. As far as it is, isn't it? It's you got to wonder sometimes.
They know how to make things a spectacle, even in things like this. It's amazing.
Especially when they're 3-love down and they somehow manage to get up to 4-3. But as far as the Portuguese Open goes in tennis at the moment, winners through to the semi-finals are David Ferrer, Stan Wawrinka, Carreno Busta. I have to admit, I've never heard of him. He's a wild card. And Andrea Seppi. And this is all ahead of these tournaments ahead of the French Open. The Munich BMW Open in Germany, in Munich. Dogic, Haas, Philip Kohlschreiber and Brantz are all through to the semis there. And we have the Madrid Open starting this weekend too. And Roger Federer is currently the current holder on that. I can tell you that was the tournament last year that all the players went crazy over because it was blue clay and everyone was slipping and sliding and going mad. They're back to the normal red clay this year, so they'll all be happy on that one. As far as the girls are concerned, we have the Portuguese Open for them as well. Semi-finals are through, so the finalists will be Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Carla Suarez Navarro will both be playing off in that final. As far as the golf is concerned, the men are playing in the Wells Fargo Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina. Phil Mickelson currently leading that tournament, and tied for second is Scotty Gardner from Australia. Rob Pampling tied for 6th. And as far as the girls are concerned, they are in Williamsburg in Virginia. Stacey Lewis from America leading that tournament, and just taking a look at the highest placed Australian is Kari Webb, tied for 23rd, and Lindsay Wright also in the same position.
That's it. Thank you very much for that, Darren. If you want to get in touch with us here at SportzScene, we are on social media. Get us at facebook.com/SportzScene. That's SportzScene. We're also on youtube.com/SportzScene. SportzScene. We'll take a break now. When we come back from the first break, we'll talk some Intrust Super Cup with special guest, South Logan Magpies coach Mark Beaumont. So stay with us here on 101 FM.
The fun continues during Logan City's Autumn Tones Festival. Take a step back in time and head to Mays Cottage to celebrate Logan's heritage at Mays in May. This jam-packed free event is held on the first Sunday in May. There are activities to interest every member of the family, including rides, pig races, cottage tours, face painting, spinners and weavers, live shearing and lots more. So come along and enjoy Mays in May, Sunday the 5th of May at Mays Cottage. Park and ride from Kingston Butter Factory. Visit Logan City Council's website to find out more about the Autumn Tones Festival.
Your station sponsor.
Wait, huh?
Oui, monsieur.
Can I have the rest of this in a doggy bag?
Well, of course, I love doggies. But please make sure you store the food properly so it doesn't go off and cause food poisoning.
Looks fine to me.
Oui, it's fine now, but after 4 hours unrefrigerated, I wouldn't feed it to a dog.
I was thinking of having it tomorrow night.
Well, that's okay.
Mr. Mark Beaumont. Mark, welcome to the show.
Morning, boys. How you going?
Very well, thanks, mate. It's very good to have you here with us. The first question we're going to ask you, mate, with the Magpies last season, they went the whole year and won 3 games. So far, 7 rounds in, you guys have already won 4, played some really impressive football against some good sides. I guess the obvious question is, what's been the difference this year?
Oh, probably just the experience we gained from last year. You know, whilst we had a really tough year last year, I had a lot of young kids in there that were playing their first game of the Queensland Cup. And this year we're starting to reap the rewards of their experiences. A lot of the boys are now played like their 20th to 30th sort of game in Queensland Cup, so they obviously had a good off season, and obviously we're just competing a bit better this year.
And you made a few off-season signings as well, added a bit to your roster there, Mark.
Oh, definitely. Like our depth was sort of always our problem last year of trying to find some quality Queensland Cup type of players. So, we obviously went out and sort of searched the guys looking for opportunity that, wanted to play Queensland Cup regularly, and we thought fit our bill. So, we were happy with what we picked up in the off-season.
Absolutely. Who are some of the guys that have really stood out for you this season? Which names have been the guys that have really put their best foot forward this year?
Oh, probably the likes of Matt Pittman, but like Matt's obviously played Queensland residents for the last 2 years. He's been fantastic for us. He always is. Guys like Andrew Edwards, Rez Phillips, like a lot of our guys in the forwards have been outstanding. A guy called Luke Archer that come to us from East. He's an outside back. He was a winger. He's been fantastic, and we just had some really good contributions from a lot of players. That's all this year that probably didn't get last year. So just consistently, a lot of guys are much better this year.
And you were all the way up in the top three there at the start of the season, but you played the two grand finalists 2 weeks in a row. It's such a tough comp at the moment, isn't it? So even across the board.
It is. No, so that probably suits us. As you said, we played two of the top sides, and yes, we got beaten with them, and we'd like to think that we can compete with those guys, and I think we did. But it's the middle of the road teams that obviously we fancy our chances against, and if we can keep winning those sort of games, should hold us in good stead as we get close to the end of the season.
Absolutely, mate. Is the semi-finals the goal for you guys at this stage?
Oh, definitely. And for us, it's not about finishing first or second or anything like that. We don't have the playing roster to do that. We have the roster to sneak into fourth or fifth, and hopefully if we can win enough games, that will be better for us.
Absolutely.
You're one of the few clubs as well that doesn't have a link with an NRL outfit. How do you sort of handle that? And is that an advantage having your squad together the whole time, or would you prefer a sprinkling of sort of more experienced players as well?
It's a bit of both, I suppose. Yes, you do have the privilege of having your boys there, every night of the week for your training. So that obviously makes it a little bit easier to get some cohesion with your guys. But when you do have an NRL affiliation, you're certainly getting like a lot better quality of player. And that's obviously speaks for itself, I suppose, that you're getting fringe NRL players that obviously played NRL possibly 1 week and then playing Intrust Super Cup the next. So that it's a bit of both, I suppose. But I'd certainly have a few if they wanted to throw them my way. It is a struggle, but our guys are pretty confident at the moment, and we're sort of doing well without them, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. Look, tough game this weekend, mate. Always going down to Tweed Heads, down to Piggabeen. It's a tough road trip for your boys. What are your thoughts leading into this game?
For us, obviously, obviously playing Tweed at Tweed, down at Piggabeen, it's a very sort of hostile ground, and they certainly get some good, home ground advantage there when we play Tweed down there. So, for us, obviously, it's to dust ourselves off from the loss last week against Redcliffe, and hopefully have a good performance because we have to bye the week after. So, for us, it's sort of a really important game that we can grab the 2 points this week leading into the bye, and then after 8 rounds, we should be sitting comfortably in the top section of the the ladder anyway. So we put a lot of importance onto it this week.
That's it. And mate, you mentioned Matty Pittman earlier on in the interview, mate, but he's playing his 50th game for the club this weekend. Tell us a little bit more about Matt Pittman.
Yeah, Matty was a guy who came to us, I think it was in my first year as coach back in 2010. And he couldn't get opportunity at other clubs. He hadn't played a game of Queensland Cup before he arrived at our doorstep. And obviously, I've had Matty now for 4 years, and he's had a bit of time in and out when we did have our Raiders affiliation, back in the earlier years. But, like I said, the last 2 years, previous 2 years, he's made Queensland residents, as a front rower. So, that's a great achievement for him. And Matty's been fantastic for our footy club since he's been there. And as I said, he deserves the accolades of his 50th game this week.
Talking about the representative stuff, they named the under-16 Queensland Origin team a few days ago, and one bloke from your club who made the side was Jaden Sewer playing in the centres. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about him and how he's been this year?
Jaden's been in our club now and obviously played in our Cyril Connell, so, obviously, they had a tough year in our Cyril Connell, but, Jaden's a good kid, and he's... he comes from our catchment area, and as I said, he's done well to make that side, and hopefully he doesn't get injured between now and the 6 weeks leading up to when they play that game at Origin 1. So, but it's good to have some representation in there, and especially after having sort of a poor year, you probably don't expect too many kids to make it. So, Jaden's done really well to make that.
That's it, mate. Look, I know you've got to get going. Thank you very much for your time. We'll let you head off now, but you're going to be a regular part of the show going forward, so a very welcome guest on the show. Thank you very much for giving us your time this morning.
No problems, Kevin. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Good luck on the weekend.
Thanks again, mate. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
We'll take a very quick break here on SportsScene. When we come back, we'll go through the rest of the Intrust Super Cup round and the Rugby League. Stay with us here on 101 FM.
Life is for living. So live it. Life. Life is for giving. So give it. Giving blood is cool. Needing it isn't. Red Cross. Give a little. Life is for living. Life is for giving. Help save lives. Please give blood.
And now it's back to Saturday Sports Scene on 101 FM.
Welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck and Darren Madigan all with you. Again, big thank you there to Mark Beaumont for giving us his time this morning. We'll keep him up to date, probably looking at a fortnightly spot with Mark every couple of weeks on your South Logan Magpies, so we keep up to date with the local guys. We'll shoot through with the rest of the Intrust Super Cup round. Now, Ethan, look at first game tonight, Northern Pride up against the Redcliffe Dolphins, 6:30pm at Burleigh Park tonight. Top of the table blockbuster.
Yeah, shapes is a really big one. Two of the heavyweights of the competition, really. But looking at their head-to-head record, Redcliffe have won 9 out of 10 against the Pride in their history. So they've obviously got the combinations there and the game plan to sort of trouble the Northern Pride. But it is up in Cairns, which tends to lead me to believe that the Northern Pride will give them a red hot shake up there.
Absolutely. Look, I like the look of this game. It's hard to tip a win on that one. I like the Pride at home, but you get the sense the Redcliffe, they're starting to look better now. They're up in third place now. They had a little bit of an up and down start of the season. They look as if they're starting to find their feet a little bit.
Yeah, I think they are. They're starting to sort of develop a bit more sort of continuity there. But yeah, we'll see how they go against the Pride, because that is one of the toughest road trips there in the Intrust Super Cup. They're going up to Cairns.
Absolutely, that'll be a result to look out for. Northern Pride versus Redcliffe Dolphins tonight, 6:30pm up at Barlow Park. The next game, this the TV game tomorrow afternoon, 2pm Sunday. This will be at Bishop Park. The North Devils up against the Wynnum Manly Seagulls. And feel good story of the week last week with the North Devils was the return of Jarrell Yao. Of course, he had that horrible injury playing for the Broncos last year. Played his first game of footy in about 12 months' time after a whole lot of injuries. Yeah. Gee, it was good to see him back out there, wasn't it, Ethan?
Yeah, it was. Just the fact that he's back out on the field, to be honest. I mean, after such a horrific injury, the fact that he's back playing rugby league and that he's looking to sort of progress his way through the NRL would be his goal, but it'll definitely take him some time, months, maybe even years to get back, to a point where he's ready to play NRL.
Yeah.
But in terms of that match there between Norths and Wynnum, it's another really, really sort of exciting matchup. Both players have got a smattering of Broncos affiliated players there, and I think the battle between the two hookers there, Kurt Baptiste from Norths and Jake Granville, both nippy players out of dummy half. So get out to Bishop Park there on Sunday afternoon if you
guys,
want to see some footy.
Yes, Darren.
I think the thing we should be careful too with Yao Yao is, as I was watching it pretty carefully on the weekend, is that he's had to come off after a fairly short period of time with that ankle being quite sore. And with the incredible injury, this was the type of return to play. And I mean, all his Broncos squad was there to see how he was playing and all that. So it was a great show of support by the club. But as Ethan pointed out quite rightly, this is a horrific injury. It was a little bit surprising to see him even just out there to give it a try and see what happens. But they did that. He came off. He is sore. It could take a very, very long time before he's actually capable of playing a full game of football at any decent standard.
Look, Darren, a lot of people are surprised he even came back at all. The nature of that injury was, I remember reading back when it first happened, if it had happened 20, 30 years ago, they would have had to amputate his foot.
Yeah. I mean, it was horrible, horrible stuff. And I mean, it's been such a long time. And, I just think it was great that the Broncos got out there like they did. I think it was just very special.
I agree totally, and yeah, look, I think it's probably unfair to put a lot of pressure on him on the comeback. Exactly. I think the story with Jarrell Yao is it's great that he's even back playing football at all. That in itself is a triumph after what he's been through. So we'd all love to see him back in the NRL and potentially playing for Queensland the rest of it one day. But for Jarrell, it's all about him getting back on the field and playing some footy, and it was wonderful to see that last week. Ethan, how about a tip for this game, North Devils versus Wynnum?
Over there at Bishop Park, I'm favouring North slightly. I like their forward pack, and Wynnum without Jordan Kahu, who played for the Broncos last night. So liking the Devils there to get up.
Yep. Yeah, the Norths are always tough to beat up there at Bishop Park. The next game of the round, the East Tigers up against the Central Capras, 2 p.m. Sunday at Langlands Park. I've got to say, being at Langlands Park last week, great crowds they get there, great facilities. It was just a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, it's always a good day out at Langlands Park. There's plenty of stuff going on, and I'll give it a fairly big plug here. But always a great day out for the family. Plenty of activities for the kids and all that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, the result didn't go East's way last week, and after a pretty promising start, they've lost four in a row. So, and there've been some sort of really tight losses in there as well. So I know they'll be pretty keen to bounce back with a win this weekend, and I think they will.
Doesn't hurt. I was going to say it doesn't hurt that the train stops there as well.
It's true. There's a new bus stop right outside the front as well. So.
Undercover parking. So I've never seen that at a local ground. It's unbelievable.
All roads lead to Langlands, pretty much.
One of the points you brought up when we were talking to Mark Beaumont is the evenness of this competition, Ethan. Even the Central Queensland, like they're down in 10th place, they've only won a couple of games. They're still a very tough team and a side that East cannot take lightly.
Oh, definitely. Every side in this comp this year has proven that they can win on their day. So that'll be the challenge for East to make sure they're up for it in the right sort of mental frame of mind there to play well.
That's it. The final game of the round, the Burleigh Bears up against Ipswich Jets. That'll be 3 p.m. Sunday at Pizzey Park down there. The Bears, as we mentioned, a tight win last week. That game was a good game of footy. The Bears raced out in the first half, but East came back in the second half. They really, at this point in the season, sitting 11th, they've had a couple of good wins against some good sides like East and Wynnum. They need to keep winning to push their way back up the ladder, don't they, Ethan?
Yeah, they do, and we've said it probably weekly on this show, but they've definitely got the talent and the ability in the squad. They just need to put it together on the field. You've probably watched them a bit more closely than me, Kev. What's the mood in their camp?
Look, the mood's always been pretty positive with the rest of it. I think they had that win against Wynnum a couple of weeks ago. Then they came up against South Logan, who gave them a footballing lesson, to be totally honest with them. They were very, very good, South Logan. Then they came out last week again and got another win. So I think they're on the right track. They lose a couple of good players, though. Sam Irwin and Mark Iwani both going up, getting called up to the Titans, which is great for them. But
NRL debut there for Mark Iwani.
Absolutely. But it gives other guys a chance. Jacob Grant comes up from the Bycroft Cup. He's been outstanding for the last couple of years for the Bears. He gets his debut. You look at new guys in the squad. Guys like Nick Harold has been outstanding. Lewis Funini has been terrific as well. Look, as you say, they've got the talent. Jordan Rankin moved to fullback last week, mate. 2 tries in the first half. What did you make of his switch to fullback? He's normally in the halves.
Yeah, he is. He's played a bit of fullback before, so he's not totally foreign to the role, I suppose. He was good in the tack. We saw him. He went the length of the field from the angle, picked up a grubber and went 105 metres or so to score. He was okay. There were aspects of his game in defence, though, I think he'd like to work on. But yeah, he definitely added an extra dimension to the Bears in attack. And I think he'll sort of find his spot there maybe for them.
All right. How about a tip in this one, mate? Bears versus Ipswich at Pizzey.
It's tough. Once again, going to go with the home team there. They looked a better side last week, Burleigh, so I reckon they'll get up in a close one. But hard to call this one.
Well, they need a win in this one. Like South, we were talking before, they got the next one, going into a bye next week. So it's a 4-point game for them, really. So they need the win. Quickly, we were talking about it with Mark, but South Logan up against Tweedhead Seagulls down at Pigabeen. As we say, a tough road trip for the South side, but how do they bounce back from the game against Redcliffe last week?
Yeah, that's a good question. Tweed have probably been one of the surprise packets this year. No one really tipped them to do to sort of figure in potential top 5 calculations. They've got a very young squad, and they're really starting to come together. They've picked Marman Barber at 5'8", and he's been electric in the footy that he's played for them this year. So, unfortunately for Mark Beaumont, I'm not gonna side with his team this week.
Okay, fair enough. Look, as you say, Marman Barber's a big plus in that side. I saw him in the first game of the season, and he's got a lot. He's a barber, and he plays a lot of the same sort of footy as electric type players. So that'd be a good game of footy down there at Pigabeen. Hopefully, the South Logan boys can get up. Take a quick look at the ladder. At the top of the ladder, Northern Pride, followed up by Wynnum Manly, Redcliffe Dolphins, Mackay Cutters in 4th, and Tweed Seagulls round up the top 5 and 5th. We've got the North Devils, Ipswich Jets, South Logan Magpies, East Tigers, Central Capras, Burleigh Bears, and the Sunshine Coast Sea Eagles bringing up the ladder. That's the quick wrap for the Intrust Super Cup this week. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll go through the Bycroft Cup and we'll scoot our way through the NRL as well. So stay with us on 101 FM.
Do you have a street light that's not functioning correctly outside your property? Perhaps you've noticed a floodlight over a zebra crossing that's not operating. Well, Energex would like you to report it to them by calling 13 12 53 or completing an online form for faulty streetlights on their website at energex.com.au. Remember also that the council has to pay the running cost of all the streetlights, whether they're working or not. So let's get the most for our rateable dollar by reporting the streetlights not functioning to Energex on 13 12 53 or on their website energex.com.au.
Four-wheel driving on Fraser Island can be dangerous. Take sand driving seriously. Don't let your trip turn to tragedy. Slow down, stick to the speed limit. In good conditions, 80 kilometres an hour on the beach and 30 on inland tracks. Slower is safer. Seatbelts save lives. Wear them, it's the law. Police patrol the beach anytime. Make your visit to Fraser fun, not fatal.
For the best musical memories from the 50s and the 60s.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more.
What you say? When I die and I lay me to rest, gonna go to the place that's the best. When I lay me down to die, going up to the spirit in the sky. Going up to the spirit in the sky. That's where I'm gonna go when I die.
It's Ted's Memories, Saturdays from 4 p.m. and only on 101 FM.
Play each machine seems to say as I walk round and round the penny arcade. Just ring the bell on the big bagatelle and you'll make all the colored lights cascade.
101 FM. You're listening to Saturday Sports Scene on 101 FM.
Welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It is 33 minutes past 8 here. Your next fresh news update coming up at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock. It's Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck and Darren Madigan all with you. If you want to get in contact with us here on Sports Scene, we are on social media, facebook.com/sportscene, SportzScene, and youtube.com/sportscene, SportzScene. Time to go through the NRL rounds now. Actually, before we do that, we've got to stick with the Bycroft Cup and the local stuff. We've got to mention the Chairman's Shield representative games coming up in about on a week's time, 10, 11, 12 of May. That'll be played. Interesting, it's the South East Queensland Championship, Gold Coast, Ipswich, Brisbane. Yep. It's going to be played at Nedburn Oval in Coochon. So the South East Queensland Championship played in northern New South Wales.
There's plenty of footy fields around in South East Queensland.
There's plenty too. So there's a little bit of a strange one. But the Gold Coast named their team this week. The big name in that, Clinton Torpey. He's still playing around. He's playing there for Runaway Bay, of course. He's played 155 NRL games, played 40-odd games over in the English Super League as well, 22 tests or something. Clinton Torpey, it's great to see these guys. A lot of these guys, people don't realise how many of these quality sort of players are still hanging around in the local leagues.
Yeah, there's been a few names that have played at that level. Had Preston Campbell, Martin Lang, I think even
played this year.
Yeah, it turned out.
Anthony Watts is still running around for Tugan.
There we go. So, yeah, there's plenty of good talent on show. So yeah, we'll see how Clinton Torpey goes off.
Yeah, just on that, Kevin, like we hear about it on a regular basis from a lot of sporting or football clubs, especially, about putting something back. We always hear the adage of, why don't we put something back into the football code? And it's great to see this happen. And the backlash of this is that people then want to go and watch, people then want to go and play, and they draw people. Petro is obviously a big one in that. Someone who's just come off pretty much a full competition actually and representative football. So in that regard, I think it's great, and the NRL are doing a great job of getting people back into the local codes.
Darren, I was talking to the Runaway Bay coach yesterday for a story I did for the Gold Coast Rugby League, and he spoke glowingly of the work he's done and just the fact that he works so hard on and off the field. And he said the difference between him and some others is perhaps that sometimes you see the older guys that have achieved what he's done don't come back and put in. How good is it for those young guys to have that old head around?
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I mean, anybody who's had the opportunity during their playing career to have somebody come back, I had that myself even. With a couple of guys that had played AFL, and you just learn so much in such a short period of time. Even if they're coaching some of them, if you're able to manage a side alongside a guy who's actually played in the AFL and he coaches a side, and the same thing goes with rugby league as well. I mean, I used to say I was alongside a guy who played for Collingwood and in South Australia for West Adelaide, and I learnt more in 1 year than I did in probably 20 years of playing footy.
Yeah,
it's that simple. You just learn, and you pick up. And if you're a sponge, you pick up so much. And hopefully, these kids are doing that with those guys at Runaway Bay.
Absolutely right, mate. And look, as we say, the Chairman's Shield Representative Triangular Series, Gold Coast, Brisbane, Ipswich, that will be next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, down at Nedburn Field at Coogin. And we'll keep you up to date with that on next week's show. As we look through the rest of the Bycroft Cup round, tonight we've got the Southport Tigers up against the Runaway Bay Seagulls as we talk about Southport unbeaten heading into this 6th round game. Runaway Bay still searching for their first win. They're playing for the Ross Bycroft Shield. As you can tell, Bycroft Cup, Bycroft, a very famous name on the Gold Coast in rugby league, and these two clubs are two of the clubs the Bycroft family has had a massive impact on. So they play this shield in remembrance of Ross Bycroft. That'll be tonight, 5 p.m. at Owen Park. Then we got the Burleigh Bears up against the Tweedhead Seagulls this afternoon at Pizzey Park, 5 p.m. Darren, at all levels, every time the Bears and the Seagulls come together, it's quite a rivalry. Well,
you may as well call it the derby, hey? I mean, it's because of their involvement both in Fogg's A grade and the Queensland Cup. These are the two teams, more than any others, that you probably sit there and say, this is the local derby. And boy, I tell you what, I've seen these guys throw blood down through the years. It's quite amazing. But you never really know which one to pick either.
It's tough. And this one, again, like that, Tweed have won their last 3 games, starting to find their feet in the Bycroft Cup. But the Bears, the defending premiers, they've lost 3 of their last 4, and they haven't been playing particularly great football. They made 18 errors last week, Ethan. You can't win games of football when you make 18 errors. So they need to find their form. It's very hard. They need to find their form, but this will be a cracking one at Pizzey Park. I lean towards the Bears, but it'll be a close one and a real chance for Tweed to prove themselves. Other games in the round, the Coogin Hornets host the Bullamble Jets. Coogin, a team that they only won 1 game last year. They went 13 games straight without a win. They won back-to-back games just a couple of weeks ago. They're starting to find their feet. Troy McCarthy, the coach of the side, former East Tigers coach, doing a wonderful job. He's a great bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, I had a bit to do with Troy in his time with East, and was always up for a chat, and always fairly well regarded there as coach. I think there's a few former East boys even in that side as well, so definite flavour there.
Absolutely. Keep a look on that one. That's on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. down at Nedburn Oval. And then we got the final match of the round, the Currumbin Eagles up against the Tugun Seahawks, 7th versus 2nd. That'll be 3 p.m. at Galleon Wade down at Currumbin. Tugun, they've won their last 3 after a slow start to the season. They're looking like the force that they always are. Once again, now the Tugun Seahawks, so you have to tip them in that one. The ladder at the moment, Southport Tigers on top, followed up by Tugun. 3rd place is Bullamble. Then we got Tweed Seagulls in 4, Bears in 5. That's your top 5. Coogin Hornets in 6, Currumbin in 7, and Runaway Bay down in 8th. All right. Now it's time to go through the NRL round. We'll start with the results from last night. Start with the Brisbane Broncos game. They went down to the Rabbitohs 26-12, 40,000 people packing in. Ethan, how'd you see this game?
Yeah, well, Souths, they took a while to get going. They could barely hold the ball in the first half, but they came out of the sheds in the second, absolutely firing, and they just blew Brisbane off the park. It was quite something else in that 15-minute period there.
It was. Lee, what you saw that? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, basically, Souths just turned it on after half-time. It was purely and simply. The Broncos had their opportunities just after half-time. They were up. I think they had 3 penalties or 3 sets of 6. They're up there in their own half, and just couldn't break that great Inglis barrier. That was put it simply. You put a kick in, and Inglis is there. You put a bomb in, Inglis is there. You know, everywhere Broncos tried, GI was there, and then to turn it around from having the ball on their own line to then not quite score a 100-metre try, but get it right down there within 95 metres.
And then score on the next play.
Yeah. You know, it's it just showed how far the Souths have come, and the GI factor is just huge.
It is
just absolutely huge. Broncos did have a few players out, but I don't think that would have affected some of the stuff that happened last night.
Yeah, just on GI, he was voted by his peers as the best player in the game during the week. Man of the match last night. We're just so glad we got him and Billy Slater, both the Queenslanders.
Can we play two fullbacks? Can we do that in Origin?
Well, you can do whatever you like. Just put a different number on them and call them fullback.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, who's the better player, Slater or Inglis?
Two different types, aren't
They're
they?
two different. They're similar. I still regard Billy Slater as a more complete all-round player, but Greenless just gets better and better every single week. There's no lose situation for Queenslanders because they're both.
No, we love them both equally. I think.
We'll get them over to the AFL soon.
Before we move on to the rest of it, Ethan, the Broncos. Justin Hodges was missing, of course. Where do they go to from here? What do they take out of the loss?
Yeah, I think to use a coach's cliche, I think the effort was fantastic there from Brisbane, but they just sort of lacked the execution there on some of their plays. In the first half, they had a lot of possession and were doing a fair bit of attack, but they weren't quite smooth enough. And to break through the South Sydney defence, you have to really be on your game because they're one of the they're one of the top two sides.
They're the real deal this year, aren't they?
For sure.
Well, the Broncos have got the Eels next week, so they should be okay. We'll go through the rest of the round.
No confidence.
The Bulldogs 40 over the West Tigers 4. The West Tigers, so many injuries at the moment. The Bulldogs got a couple of key guys back. We're saying for a long time, Ethan, are they back? Are they back?
They're closer. They're closer. I mean, they beat West, who pretty much had their whole backline out and a few forwards. So take it with
I think I was saying on the footy show the other night that it was the youngest West Tigers side to be fielded in 25 years or something, and it was possibly the youngest backline ever for the West Tigers when they were looking at their stats.
Was that before Benji Marshall got called in too? Because they had Sironen and Jacob Miller.
Yeah, it was.
But they've got quite an injury crisis at that club at the moment, and they are hurting. They are struggling. So, but the Bulldogs, Cassiano and James Graham both returned last night.
Yeah, and from watching the match last night, they definitely added a lot, just for their ball playing skills, if nothing else, really. I mean, Bulldogs look so much more dangerous when those two are there. They sort of take on the line a bit like an extra halfback, really. But yeah, I guess we'll see how the Bulldogs go from here. I mean, West Tigers were very under strength, so they'll face tougher opposition and we can sort of get a better gauge of how they're going.
Either way, a 36-point win is a 36-point win. A good win for the Doggies. Through the rest of the round now, the Storm versus the Raiders, 5:30 p.m. at Amy Park tonight. Ethan, will the Storm make it 16 in a row?
Yeah, you'd have to say so. I mean, Canberra are capable when they're on their game, but you can't. The Brave managed to be against Melbourne anyway.
Melbourne too. The all-time record set 1975 by the Roosters is 18 straight. The Storm gunning for 16. We'll see how that one goes. The other game tonight, 7:30 p.m. at Paris Stadium. The Eels up against the Cowboys. The Eels under all sorts of pressure once again after their performance last week.
Yeah, that's true. They got beaten fairly comprehensively, to say the least.
It's a bit of a common theme there this year, isn't it?
It is. But bounce back factor maybe? Can they sort of regroup after that and come back, or are we talking about Parramatta here?
They bounced back last time against the Sharks. They did beat the Sharks, but the Cowboys, they came off a much needed win last week. Can the Cowboys start to roll from here?
I hope so. I'd really like to see them sort of start clicking into gear. But they're away from home again and sort of never really confident with the Cowboys when they're outside of Townsville. So I don't know. Could be closer than many people think, I think.
The Warriors up against the Titans, 12 p.m. our time, Sunday afternoon at Mount Smart Stadium. That's on Sunday. The big thing, Titans, fair few injuries as well. From the Bears, as we were talking before, Sam Irwin and Mark Ioane making their way into the side. Ioane on debut. He's been great for the Bears in the last few weeks, so hopefully he goes well. Can the Titans get a win in this one, Ethan?
I don't think so. The Warriors...
Such confidence. I don't think so.
I don't think so, no. I'm liking the Warriors. They've been playing some very good footy. They really pushed Melbourne last week. They're playing much better rugby league than their position on the table suggests. They're at home. I reckon they'll get a win.
Shoot through tips for the rest of the round. 2 p.m. at Hunter Stadium Sunday afternoon. The Knights up against the Sharks.
Newcastle, I think.
Newcastle at home. I like that as well. Roosters up against the Panthers, 3 p.m. Allianz Stadium. Panthers, big win last week against the Eels. Can they step it up against the Roosters?
Hang on. Well, big win and Eels. They're two things that have gone together this year, Kev.
And, they're coming up against the Roosters, who have had a few big wins themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Any chance, mate?
Small chance. No. Definitive there from Lee. No. Nah, it's hard to look past Sydney. They're too much class.
They're looking very good this year. The final match of the round, Monday night, 7 p.m, Win Jubilee Stadium. Dragons up against the Sea Eagles.
Yeah, fireworks is the prediction for that one. Should be physical. Dragons? Sneaky chance for an upset.
Sneaky upset there. The Sea Eagles, of course, without Richie Fioso for 8 weeks. Was that a fair suspension?
I think so. He did spare tackle Greg Inglis twice.
Twice in the one game. Yeah.
He did just do it once. It wasn't just a mistake. He got in game.
Also, Steve,
while we lift him.
Yeah.
Steve Maddow will be missing for a week as well for a high shot on George Burgess. Brett Stewart got away with a stray elbow as well. Did you think he was a little bit lucky, Ethan?
I didn't actually see the elbow. Snuck onto my radar as well there. But it's Manly, so I'm going to say he's lucky.
Fair enough. Look, we'll leave it there. We'll look through the rest of the NRL. After the break, we'll go to the ladder. And then we got the big issue coming up after the break, and there's been one big one that's been dragging on all week. Bit of a soap opera, quite entertaining, I will say. The Singleton Waterhouse blow up. We'll talk about that after the break. So stay with us here on Sports Scene on 101 FM.
Sometimes I know he sings.
What happens when a young rock and roller from the wrong side of the tracks falls in love with a rich man's daughter?
He's wonderful. He loves me and I love him.
I'm not rubbish, Mr. Burns. When poverty walks in the door, love flies out the window.
Come and ride the rock and roll roller coaster that is the world premiere run of new British musical Billy Bucket at the Crete Street Theatre, Beenleigh, from April 26th to May 11. Get your tickets online from beenleightheatregroup.com or call 3287 1377. Be there or be square.
Life is for living, so live it. Life is for giving, so give it. Giving blood is cool, needing it isn't. Red Cross. Give a little. Life is for living. Life is for giving. Help save lives. Please give blood.
Did you know that there are over 1,000 orphaned orangutans living in care centres in Borneo and Sumatra because their habitats have been destroyed and their mothers killed? You can help one of these orphans in need by adopting from the Orangutan Project. From just $55 a year, you can provide all the care and nourishment to successfully rehabilitate and hopefully one day return them to the wild. Visit orangutan.org.au for more information.
101 FM. You're listening to Saturday Sports Scene on the voice of Logan City, 101 FM.
Welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It's 12 minutes to 9. Your next fresh news update coming up at the top of the hour. It's Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck and Darren Madigan all here with you. Reminder, we are on social media here at Sports Scene on facebook.com/sportscene, SportsScene, and youtube.com/sportscene, SportsScene. So get in contact with us. We love to hear from you. Look, Darren Madigan, I'm going to go to you for this one because it's been a messy old soap opera, this one, but it has been entertaining. Fill us in on what's going on with John Singleton and Gay Waterhouse.
Well, you're absolutely right in what you said before we went to the break, that it has been entertaining. Yes. It most certainly has. Basically, what's happened, and we're going to have a hearing on Monday with Racing New South Wales. But we should look at the players in this. You've got former jockey Alan Robertson, Tom Waterhouse, Robbie Waterhouse, Gay Waterhouse, John Singleton, and Andrew Johns. I hope I haven't missed out anybody.
That's all of them, Darren. You've got that one right. It was,
no, you missed Sydney brothel owner Eddie Hayson.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid him, actually. I'm sitting there looking at you at the moment.
I just wanted to say the sentences everyone else has got to say.
But again, sorry.
No, sorry.
No. Maybe not.
Basically,
how's it gone down?
All right, so basically what's going to be looked into at the moment, Racing New South Wales have got vets and that over the past few days have been checking out More Joyous and finding out the fitness of the horse in the week leading up to the race. Now, basically what happened was the horse was apparently checked twice by two vets leading up to the race. They both decided that the horse was fit to race. The allegation is that Tom Waterhouse has told people that he knows that More Joyous had a problem and couldn't win the race. Obviously, Tom Waterhouse is denying this strongly.
Can I just stop you there? Was that during an NRL game when he's on the field or not?
Well, this is where this is where it gets interesting. Is apparently it was like a throwaway line at an NRL game with Andrew Johns in a conversation. They were talking about various things, and supposedly a one-line thing came up, according to Andrew Johns anyway, that him and Tom Waterhouse were talking about, and they were throwing things around about football, and obviously with Andrew Johns being an owner of horses now as well, the question has come up about horse racing, and apparently More Joyous he's basically said More Joyous, the term is off. And obviously, what's happened? You all saw, well, everyone's seen the footage at the racetrack after the horse has not done so well in the race, and John Singleton, the owner, has walked up to Gay Waterhouse and tried to have a conversation. You could just see in the conversation that Gay was not wanting to have this. She was trying to talk to the jockey, and they actually put up a caption of the line. The only caption that they've put up of John Singleton saying, "Gay, I own the beep horse." So, it obviously wasn't a pretty conversation. The upshot of all of that was the very next morning, John Singleton's 7 horses in those stables were taken away to his own property, and obviously they're going to be trained by someone else. It's a 35-year association, apparently, between Singleton and the Waterhouses, is now at an end. And obviously on Monday, it was going to be this Friday, yesterday. That was when the hearing was supposed to be, but they ended up during the week changing it to Monday. And we're going to find out a lot more. I think the really fascinating thing that's going to come out of Monday is from what I understand, is that the participants during the hearing, what is said during the hearing, they can't have each other for libel or defamation.
Right.
So we could see anything thrown around in that conversation. The question then is whether the media will be allowed to cover it.
Darren, just on this, mate.
Yep.
Sorry, Lee. Am I a blind punter that we've got a situation here because it was a very important race, and More Joyous is a very good horse, and it doesn't perform that well. Now, I've seen good horses not perform well in everyday races. The expectations of champions obviously are a lot higher, but
sure,
are we in a position where we're seeing horses run not to their potential? But we all know that horses go through a process of being up. When they're coming back from a spell, sometimes they need to run into a race form. Some are ready to go as soon as they come back, and that's a training feat of the trainers. Now, they know what's going on. Now, if a disgruntled owner comes in and says, they're not pulling its weight, and there's, second-hand sort of table talk. Yeah. Is this relevant to really what's going on? Is it because of the magnitude of the people involved that it's got to this stage? Yeah. Because I'm telling you what, if this was a country meet of a favourite that was, 2-1 on, you wouldn't hear about it.
You wouldn't hear about it whatsoever. Now, the other interesting, what you say there is perfectly right, Craig. And the other thing is that the media were talking about wanted to beam this stewards hearing live.
Right.
When have you ever heard of a stewards hearing being beamed live anyway? It's never happened before.
Yeah.
Where we've got these high-profile people where every time you turn the TV on, you got Tom Waterhouse there now.
The last thing we want is more of it.
And we don't want more of Tom. I'm sorry, but Tom, you're probably a great bloke.
I agree with you. I think the last thing we need is more of that. But look, in answer to Craig's question, Craig, you're right. It is mostly because of the profile of the people involved. If it was at a country meet, I think the investigation would still happen. It just wouldn't be a high-profile thing. But the thing you've got to remember, though, racing's a really big deal. In my opinion, racing exists for one reason and one reason only, and that's betting. And, otherwise, you only got to go to a racetrack to see that for yourself.
King, come on.
Well, yeah, really, most people are there to have a punt. It's not like going to the footy, really, is it? So, I think there's that to it. The other thing, too, is that because of that, and because of what can come about from it with crime and corruption and all that sort of thing, let's face it, we have a minister for racing for a reason.
Yeah.
You don't have a minister for football. You have a minister for racing, and the reason you have a minister for racing is because there is so much money involved in the sport. And that money inevitably brings crime and corruption, and that's why you've got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely susceptible to that sort of stuff. It's 5 minutes to 9 here on SportzScene. Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck, and Darren Madigan all here with you. Reminder, we are on social media, facebook.com/sportscene and youtube.com/sportscene. Feel free to get in touch with us anytime. Darren, we'll move on from that one now because we've got to touch on the Australian Swimming Championships that have been going down over the last week or so.
They have.
The missile has landed.
Indeed, and trying to take a look at what the team actually looks like this morning has been an interesting exercise. But let's have a quick have a think about what we've got though. We've got the Campbell sisters through by the looks of things. Alicia Cootes, I think, is through to 5 individual events and 3 relays as well. The missiles firing beautifully, number 1 in the world in the 100 metres and 50 as well. But the big news, I think, it is the blue ribband event outside of the 100 metres, and that's the 1500. And we finally have a kid going under 15 minutes. And I think you've got the time there, Kevin.
Yeah, well, Lee's got it actually in front of him.
Lee's all over it. All over it like a fat kid on a cupcake.
Jordan Harrison, we should mention his name too, from the Gold Coast, one of Dennis Cottrell's kids.
Tell us about it.
14:51:02. That was his quicker than Grant Hackett's time in the 1998 World Championships when Hackett was the same age. There was also another young 17-year-old, Mac Horton, who broke the 15-minute barrier as well, but his time of 14 minutes 59.66 was 1.36 seconds off of the harsh qualifying time set by the selectors. So I'm not sure, but that is a huge effort to get under 15 minutes. I mean, you think about that 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it wasn't heard of. Yeah. And now we've had 2, but even though you broke the 15-minute barrier, you're not quick enough, brother.
No,
but there's no prizes for not quite making it though, sadly. And you know, the reality is, after the performance of the Australian swim team after the Olympics, they're going to set these tough standards. I don't really have a huge problem with that. It's a massive effort to get under 15. Darren, he's comparable to Kieran Perkins' time at the same age.
Certainly is. He's actually. I think when we looked at the times, I think he was slightly quicker. But at 17 years of age, when Kieran actually in 1991, I think.
91 world titles in Perth.
Yeah, in Perth. So look,
58, so marginal, half a second.
I'm not sure whether swimming has A and B qualifying times like athletics does, but I think, as you pointed out, I mean, we take a look. They're a victim of their own success down through the years. We've had swimmers that have been the very best in the world. We've had a little bit of a break. And there are other swimmers around the world who are also swimming very, very quick times. So, yeah, you've got to bring that qualifying time down under 15 minutes because that's what's expected now.
Yeah, but Darren, that's always in the Olympics has been our pet event. It's one we've always succeeded really well in. Now, last games, I don't think we had a representative in the final, did we?
No, I don't think so.
We did.
No.
So, the guy's only young. He's only going to improve.
Oh, yeah.
Is it worth, this is one, if it is something in the Australian makeup that we do produce good swimmers at this length.
Yep.
Why don't we just bring him through, nurture him through? Do we have to be set by times in that regard? Like, you don't do it in any other code in sports or anything in football.
This is the kid that didn't quite make it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But he's obviously done extremely well. He's probably a PB. So,
look, I think it probably wouldn't hurt to take him on, but I think given the current climate, with the current paper that was brought out and the investigations and all that sort of stuff, it's probably not something that's going. He's not going to get a late call up and say, "We'll bring you along for the experience." I just don't see them doing that. But if you take a look at what's happened in recent times, it's been the Australians have been dominant, but they're not dominant anymore.
Welcome back to
SportzScene here on 101 FM. I'm Kevin Braysher. Joining me at the panel
Today, AFL Queensland Hall of Famer, Mr. Craig Crowley, QRL's Ethan James, the Australian Karting Association's Lee Hanatscheck, SportzScene founding father Darren Madigan, and now joining us on the line, he's the chairman of selectors for the NEAFL's Northern District representative team, Marty King. Marty, welcome to the show.
All right, good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Very good, thanks, mate. Very grateful to have you on the show here.
Yeah, g'day, Marty. We've just got you on the line, mate, to have a bit of a chat about next week's state game against South Australia. I believe you're down there at the moment just checking out players and grounds and conditions. How's it all going?
Yes, we are, Jack. A bit of a posse of us, including Craig Miller from AFL Queensland and your good mate Jason Cotter, the head coach, headed down last night, mate, and watching a full round of sample footy, I suppose, just to get a bit of a profile and a bit of a heads up on the South Australians, who we know are going to be very, very worthy opponents. But we found in previous years when we've done this, it's really good to sort of, I suppose, just have a look at the physical capabilities and the way players play. So, yeah, look, we've got a full week ahead of us, mate, a full weekend ahead of us, and enjoying it so far.
Mate, a couple of years back we played WA, and I suppose probably from the tier situation, them being a number one side and us being probably second division state team, a lot of people didn't expect us to go so close. I think we ended up getting beaten by about 6 points. What's the thought process now there? We're playing against South Australia. You know, the expectation there to do as well, is it as high, or we expected sort of them to run over us?
I certainly think that you go in, with the expectation and the hopes to win. Really, there's no point playing it. I think full credit to the AFL. We've now got this, these state league challenges, or what you want to call them, which I suppose in previous years used to be state challenges. But now the NEAFL competition, which is probably the lower rung of the first tier competitions. Obviously, we've got the Sample, Waffle, and VFL, but traditionally are the predominant states, and I suppose this is a great chance to measure where the NEAFL's at. It's a great chance to play against one of the fantastic, and just seeing the traditional grounds and being there last night and seeing the game of footy in front of big crowds, which unfortunately we don't get as much of up there. It's a great test for the players. I'm sure the players, the 22 that we pick, are all pretty proud blokes. Some have been on AFL lists, some are on AFL lists, and some are hoping to get on AFL lists, so there's different motivations for them, but it's just a great challenge for everyone, including the coaching staff who really do embrace it.
Yeah, Marty, Dane Zorko, we've seen him star recently with the Brisbane Lions. He sort of got picked up on the back of the West Australian game a couple of years ago. Is there anyone in the squad you think is sort of at that potential, for next weekend's game?
Look, I probably wouldn't, and the Zorko story is a great story, because I suppose, not only had he had fantastic form at club level, but whenever he represented his state, he was very good. He just had a breakout game in that game against Western Australia. What I do know, I don't know if there's anyone individually that you'd say, yes, they're up and about, but what I do know is that the age profile has obviously lifted for what AFL clubs are looking for. Now, no longer is it just someone straight out of TAC Cup or the Under-18 Championships. There's a greater chance now for mature ages. And look, we'll have a number of lads who are sort of 20 to 23 and even 24. And as ruckman, you sometimes look at even a 25, 26-year-old that might be a chance. So we'll have a couple of those in our side. How they step up against this type of opposition will go a long way to determining where they end up at.
Yeah, g'day, Marty. I understand there's a under-22s curtain raiser before the match as well, with a few sort of conferences combining. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that's sort of structured?
Yeah, sure, and that'll be a fascinating one. I suppose, we have just our Queensland and Northern Territory teams playing in the senior game against the Sample, which isn't that hard because the Northern Territory play in our competition, but the under-22 lads is a combined Southeast Queensland, Northern Territory, Sydney and ACT team who will really only meet themselves Friday afternoon. We all log here next Friday around about 4 o'clock and have a training run, and that group may probably be made up of, say, 12 Queenslanders, 4 Territorians, half a dozen sort of New South Wales ACT Welshmen. So that'll be fascinating, and that's probably a real target area for the talent as well too. That's the late developers, that's the blokes that have exited the talent teams, and they'll play against the South Australian under-20 side, which gives them an age difference and an age advantage, but rest assured the South Australian under-20s will be very, very handy.
Absolutely. Darren, I'll bring you in now. You got anything to ask for Marty?
Yeah, g'day, Marty. Darren Madigan here, mate. How you doing? Mate,
How you going, mate?
very, very good. I've been watching a lot of Sandful and Waffle lately in these ungodly hours of the morning on the ABC. It seems like the Waffle's been doing a bit of catching up with the quality of play to the Sandful, but we don't get to see much of the top teams in the Sandful on those television games. I'm just wondering, is South Australia allowed to load up on players that aren't playing AFL that weekend for Port or Adelaide, or does it has to come out of the Sandful itself?
No, Darren, look, they've got to be traditional Sandful players. I suppose the advantage that we have there, and it is somewhat an advantage. We can play the AFL rookie listed players, so we've currently got, I believe, about 3 blokes from the Brisbane Lions that are rookie listed players, provided they haven't been elevated and played AFL football, and I think we've got a couple from the Suns as well. The South Australian clubs basically pick from their 9 teams, but they can only pick South Australian registered players. Any of the Port Adelaide or Adelaide Crows players can't be selected.
Darren, you speak about those SNFL sides that maybe not the top competition, but Marty, you're going to see the Port Central's game this weekend, is that correct?
That's correct. That's on Sunday, I believe, going out to Alberton on Sunday, and we're heading out to watch North Adelaide play Norwood today.
Yeah. Mate, can you just make sure the doggies get up on that one? I mean, big Centrals fan. We haven't had a win this year. We had 9 premierships last decade, but we haven't had a win this year, so hopefully we can get up there.
Yeah, I think South Australia's really upset about that for...
You're a bit of a glutton, Lee.
A decade or so, I think the locals are loving it at the moment.
We did have 34 years of no success, but anyway, going off track here, great.
The other thing is, Marty, look, for a lot of listeners who probably don't really know the concept of our competition, we have, apart from the local competition, we've also got the AFL reserve grade play in our competition, but we've also got the NT Thunder who play out of Darwin. Now, obviously, for the travelling side of it, we're unable to sort of have them train in our group, and you've got 6 players that are actually from the Thunder that are in the squad. Just can you give the people out there just a bit of an idea of how that works and how hard it is on the group coming down, considering they do a lot of travelling week to week?
Yeah, look, it's certainly tough for them, Jack, and they've got to travel, as you say. So it's a tough ask for them, but in these modern fandangle ways, of which I don't understand too much about, Facebook and Skype and all these type of things, the coaching staff and the selection staff do get a chance to engage with these players and give them a bit of an idea of where they're at. And I'm sure when we sit down early next week and we do sort of remodel the side and cut the side down, the NT blokes will be the first fellas we think about, because let's remember they've got a lock away, greater travel time, they've got lock away, and all of these players are semi-professional, mate. None of these players are full-time footballers. So, a young fellow like Baden Malkin, who I believe comes from Hermansburg, which is still a couple of hours outside of Alice Springs, the travel component for him is massive. It's not just jumping on a plane in Darwin on Friday and landing in Adelaide. He's actually travelling the day before. And when we get back home on the Sunday, he's actually travelling back again on Monday. So it's a massive ask for someone like that. And as you know, no doubt aware, Jack, the availability of flights into Darwin and Alice Springs are fairly limited. So you've got to work around limited timelines. But it's great. The territory is a fantastic component of our competition, and it brought so much to the competition. And a fellow like Cameron Islet, who's held in high esteem by all the players, he'll no doubt play, and we've found in the last couple of years he really embraces state footy.
Mate, the other thing is probably on the, not to take a negative situation on this, because what we're up against, but it's really pleasing to see that on our list we've got a lot of AFL experience, as well as a lot of players that have played in the Sandful. I think Wise, Mills, Islet and Vassal have all played in the Sandful, so that's going to give us a fairly good indicator, or a big heads up on when we go down there. But, the likes of Shaney Stiller, obviously your Brisbane Lion blokes, the guys from the Suns that are all, at elite fitness, and you've got, an X-factor in Austin Wanamiri. I think Daniel Zufa's also played or has been on a list. Wade Mills and Andrew McQualter, regardless if they make the side or whatever the case may be, that's got to be an upside for our team as well as the youth we've got in the group.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, Jack. I think it's full credit to, especially blokes like Shane. He still has just come out of the AFL system. He's played 100 AFL games. He really doesn't have that much to prove to the footy world that he can play, but yet he's passionate about wanting to play state footy. Yeah. Andrew McLeod is a Victorian who came up and had a year here at the Suns and played in the state league, now playing at Southport, which is great for the competition. But he wants to play state footy, so you know as well as I do. In the past, we probably had a couple that hadn't had it up high on their bucket list to do. These blokes do have, and they're fantastic for the group. They add experience. You're right, talking about Millsy, Wisey, a lot of these lads that have played sample footy, that's important. Rory Walton is a premiership player at Claremont. So it's a diverse group that we're going to take over there, but they've all had some form of success at high-level footy, so I think that stands us in pretty good stead against a very worthy opponent.
Absolutely, mate. We'll have to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us today, Marty. Just before we let you go, just let us know, the details, when you're playing, where you're playing, where's it all going down?
Yeah, sure. We play next Saturday now. I put my time change cap on. It's 2:10 Adelaide time, which would make it 1:40 South East Queensland time. For those that love their NEFL and sample footy, you can watch the game live on ABC One, which is fantastic. It's been streamed. It's been telecast live into South East Queensland, the Northern Territory, actually all for Australia on ABC One, which is fantastic. And the under-20s. Under-22s game, which has been streamed on the NEFL website. You can catch that from 11:30 South Australian time next Saturday.
Absolutely. So that'll be neafl.com.au for the live stream there. Go and check it out. Marty King, Chairman of Selectors for the NEFL Northern District Representative Team. Thank you very much for being with us here on SportzScene.
No worries, lads. Have a good day.
Thanks, Marty.
Anytime, mate. We'll go to a quick break now here on SportzScene. When we come back, we'll go through the rest of the NEFL and the world of Aussie rules football. Stay with us.
1 in 5 of us are affected.
10% of us will have at least one.
And the numbers double for Indigenous Australians.
Just as quick as a click of your fingers, it can happen to anyone at any time.
What would you do if someone close to you was having a seizure?
Imagine if it was your child.
My brother has it. My sister has it.
I have it.
I have it too. You're not alone.
You're not different.
And you have a bright future ahead of you.
So click for kids.
I'm Amy Lee, and I'm part of it.
If you want the latest and best movies on the big screen, plus a delicious morning tea, all for a very low admission price, then you must come along to the 101 FM monthly movies at station sponsor, the Hyperplex Cinemas Loganholme. Keep listening for details of the next screening and then join us, Logan City's 101 FM.
Hi, I'm Jill Robinson from Animals Asia, a group dedicated to ending bear farming in China and Vietnam. After 2 decades of rescuing bears and providing critical information regarding their appalling physical and psychological health, we're proud to see the Chinese public rising up against this cruel and unnecessary industry at last. Join us to end bear farming. Call 1-800-666-004 today.
Tune into Crossover Country each Thursday night between 7 and 10 p.m. for Name That Tune, when we give you the opportunity to win a $50 voucher from your station sponsor, Woody's Music Store, Shop 61 Logan Central Plaza, Wembley Road, Logan Central.
101 FM.
And now it's back to Saturday SportzScene on 101 FM.
Welcome back to SportzScene here on 101 FM. It's 19 minutes past 9 on your station. Just a quick announcement. You can join your station 101 FM as we broadcast live from Mays Cottage this Sunday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Peter Taylor will be playing the music and speaking with interesting people about Logan's heritage. That's this Sunday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at Mays Cottage, Kingston. Park and ride from the Kingston Butter Factory. It's sponsored by Logan City Council, so keep an eye out for that. Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Darren Madigan and Lee Hanatscheck all here with you. Darren, before we move on to the rest of the NEFL and the AFL round, we were going to get it before the top hour, but we sort of talked through it, ran out of a bit of time. But how's an update on the scores from the Worlds of the tennis and golfing worlds?
Yeah, sure. We've got the Portugal Open for men and women through to the semis. David Ferrer, Stan Wawrinka, Pete Carreno Buster. As I said, I never heard of him before. He's obviously a new pro on the tour and probably a wild card there. Andrea Seppi beat Tommy Robredo 4-3. Also, we are in Munich at the moment in Germany. Dogic, Haas, Philip Kohlschreiber and Brands are all through to the semi-finals. Just a reminder, the Madrid Open starts this weekend. Roger Federer, the defending champion, he has to defend 1,000 points there to try and keep his number 2 in the world ranking, and they're back on normal clay in that tournament after the debacle of the blue clay last year. Final in the Portuguese Open for women will be between Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova and Carla Suarez Navarro. As far as the golf is concerned, the men are playing at the Wells Fargo Championship in Charlotte, North Carolina. Phil Mickelson leading at 9 under at the moment after a 68 and a 67. An Australian, Scott Gardner, tied for second. Rob Pampling tied for fifth currently. And as far as the girls are concerned, they're playing in Williamsburg, Virginia in the Kingsmill Championship. Arya Jutanagan currently leading that at the moment, 7 under par through 17 holes after a first round 64 from Stacey Lewis. And the best placed Australian at the moment as far as that's concerned is Kari Webb, consistent as always, tied for 21st at 1 under par. Lindsay Wright tied for 21st.
Every week she seems to be the one leading the way for the Aussies. She's amazing with her consistency. Thank you for that, Darren. And also, again, big thanks to Marty King, Chairman of Selects for the NEFL, the NEFL representative team. That's the word I'm looking for there. Big thanks to him for that, coming on the show. Craig, you're involved in that side as well.
Yeah, I'm an assistant coach, so you, fortunately or unfortunately, won't be here next week, but hopefully we'll have a bit.
Craig,
hook up and we'll have a bit of a talk before the actual game.
Sorry, Darren.
So just going to say one last question on the rep game, since we've got Craig here, is the Cairns League up here. We've been talking about getting a NEFL side for a long time. There's the league has traditionally been the strongest of all the country leagues and has at some stages beaten Brisbane in rep games. Do you look at guys from up here outside of the NEFL at all, given the strength of the competition?
What they have, Darren, they've got they actually have a country championships, and they've got the Queenslanders in the countryside are called the Bushmen, and they actually do quite well down there. But at the end of the day, we don't go too far out of our perimeters. But if someone was to show some, really exciting form, more than likely we would try to involve them somehow in the NEFL concept. So we'd probably get them to, a Redlands or a Southport or whatever the case may be, and try to get him in there if we believe, and if he's a good enough player, he should be playing there. But realistically, they'd have to be standout footballers in that competition for us to really go there.
Have you heard any further word on Cairns getting a NEFL side, given that they have probably the best country football facility in Australia?
Oh, look, there was a lot of work done. I think logistically it just doesn't match up at this stage, and I don't think we could have got the funding from the AFL to get them, and that goes a long way with the travel side of it too. And probably they would be considered more if one of the sides in this competition, and I'm only guessing this, Darren, I don't know 100%, if one of the sides couldn't stay alive in the comp, and there was an opportunity for a side to come in. But
fair enough.
Fair enough. And reminder, that representative game will be streamed live on the NEFL website, neafl.com.au. That'll be 2:40 p.m. Queensland time. Marty just flipped it the wrong way. We go forward and half hour for us in Queensland.
You get confused.
So, you do. Absolutely.
Very confused.
Easy now. Easy now.
It'll be 2:40 next Saturday afternoon if you want to watch that game. We'll shoot through now the rest of the AFL round. We're up to round 7 now. We got Tuggeranong, who I've no idea how to say that properly, Craig.
Tuggeranong.
There we go. Tuggeranong up against Mount Gravatt at 11:45 a.m. today down there.
Yeah, well, they're an Eastern Conference side, so at the end of the day, I think I've been pretty much on the money with backing the Eastern Conference sides.
It's been good.
The unfortunate thing about it, they're a local side, Mount Gravatt, and we wish to do that they do well, but unfortunately they're going through, as we speak about it on a regular basis, a rebuilding stage. So at this stage, you'd probably be favouring Tuggeranong at this stage.
Tuggeranong, I remember that one. Probably should have prepped it before we came on, but Tuggeranong. The next game of the round this afternoon, 1:30 p.m. at Graham Road, Aspley up against Redlands.
Yeah, look, I think Aspley are probably the strongest side, but with Redlands, you can't underestimate them. They probably haven't produced the form that they were probably hoping for at the start of the season. So Aspley, probably on top of their game, would be the side I'd be favouring.
Fair enough. Gold Coast Suns up against the Southport Sharks. I almost said Tigers again. Southport Sharks. 4 p.m. this afternoon. I'm on a roll at the moment. Metricon Stadium. How's this one looking, Craig?
Yeah, well, as we say all the time, if they load up, it's always going to be hard, and they have. But in saying that, they've got a lot of young kids. There's probably not the experienced heads they've got there playing for them. So, look, we're a chance. It's always hard to compete against the fitness and the professionalism of an AFL club. But, we're giving ourselves every chance. We've picked our best possible side.
Absolutely, mate. You got 7 players in this rep side. Gold Coast Suns, 3 of them, of course, a lot of them playing up and down with the Suns and stuff. But, you guys heavily represented going into that. Does that affect the preparation at all?
Oh, no, look. All our guys, and I spoke to Andrew McCotter the other day, and he goes, look, I'd love to play state footy, and he really looking forward to it, but he goes, I'm a Southport player. And that's the opinion of all the players. They play their club footy first, which is the AFL mentality, really.
That's it. And another side with a lot of players representing in this representative game coming up, the NT Thunder. They host Morningside at TIO Stadium tonight, 7 p.m.
Yeah, well, last, they were beaten earlier in the year at TIO Stadium by Broadbeach, and I think that really stung them into gear because they've been playing reasonably good football since then. Their list is quite strong still, even though they've had a few departures, the NT Thunder. But Morningside, real surprise packet. They've got a lot of young kids, and they've got a good core group of experienced players, and they're doing extremely well. So, Morningside will probably grab them up there, but it'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, up in third at the moment, so you're back in a bit of an upset in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, the next one, we got the Sydney Swans up against the Brisbane Lions down at the SCG, 9:30 a.m. Gee, that's early for a game of footy. Yeah. Tomorrow morning, 9:30.
That's like under 10.
Yeah, it really is.
Kicking the dew off.
That is a nice early game of footy, 9:30 a.m. How are they going to go?
Oh, look...
at the pub by 12. That's how I see it.
They'd be doing the recoveries, mate.
It's almost the top of the table.
I think the Swans are just going to be too strong. Just basically, they're a complete unit. They keep their list pretty strong because their senior side keeps their list pretty strong.
Fair enough. The Labrador up against Broadbeach, the Gold Coast Derby, tomorrow afternoon, 1:30 p.m. down at Labrador.
Yeah, Broadbeach probably would be the side I'd be picking, but in a derby, you can never take it easy. We played Labrador last week, and they really gave it to us for half a game. We pulled away at the end because they had a few injuries during the course of. So, it's with these games always hard to pick, but I think Broadbeach should have the ascendancy in this game.
Fair enough. Look at the results from the last round. The Lions got up 111-79 over the Suns. Ainsley got up 130-80 over Broadbeach. Belconnen 164 over Mount Gravatt 48. Aspley 110 over Morningside 89. NT Thunder 92 over Redlands 81, and Southport 101 over Labrador 37. A quick look at the ladder. The Brisbane Lions out on top at the moment. Southport Sharks in second. Morningside third. NT Thunder 4. Aspley in 5. Gold Coast Suns, Labrador, Redlands, Broadbeach, Mount Gravatt rounds up the ladder. And mate, top 5 in that competition. How's the final structure work?
Oh, it's just basically, I think the top size has the first week off, and then it's elimination.
It is 5?
Yeah, it is a 5. Yeah, so just a basic standard final 5 system.
Long way to go before we get to the 22-round competition. So that's the NEAFL for this week. We'll take a quick break now here on SportzScene. When we come back, we'll go through the AFL Round 6 as well. So stay with us on 101 FM.
Life is for living, so live it. Life is for giving, so give it. Giving blood is cool, needing it isn't. Red Cross. Give a little. Life is for living. Life is for giving. Help save lives. Please give blood.
If you want the latest and best movies on the big screen, plus a delicious morning tea, all for a very low admission price, then you must come along to the 101 FM monthly movies at station sponsor, the Hyperplex Cinemas Loganholme. Keep listening for details of the next screening and then join us, Logan City's 101 FM.
Hi, I'm Jill Robinson from Animals Asia, a group dedicated to ending bear farming in China and Vietnam. After 2 decades of rescuing bears and providing critical information regarding their appalling physical and psychological health, We're proud to see the Chinese public rising up against this cruel and unnecessary industry at last. Join us to end bear farming. Call 1-800 666 004 today.
Tune into Crossover Country each Thursday night between 7 and 10 p.m. for Name That Tune, when we give you the opportunity to win a $50 voucher from your station sponsor, Woody's Music Store, Shop 61 Logan Central Plaza, Wembley Road, Logan Central.
101 FM. Now it's back to Saturday Sports Scene on 101 FM.
Welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It's Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck and Darren Madigan, all with you. If you want to get in contact with us here at Sports Scene, we are on social media. Go to facebook.com/sportscene, SportzScene. Also on youtube.com/sportscene, SportzScene. Not a lot of time to shoot through the AFL very quickly, but Craig, there was one point you wanted to mention on.
Yeah, like from a local perspective, it was pretty sad last night watching the St Kilda Collingwood game to see a local product, a guy called Sam Gilbert, who actually played at Southport, and he was a Coolangatta junior, possibly, and we're waiting on scans, and it might have done his ACL, which is quite sad from our perspective, and we wish Sammy all the best. But it is something we'll probably have to talk about in weeks to come, about the high amount of ACL damage in AFL football. Yeah. I was just talking to Ethan, more so than the NRL. There just seems to be huge amounts of knee damage in our sport. So it'd be something we might just follow up on and see if we can find an answer.
Absolutely. We won't have time to go through the whole AFL round, but we will go for the local Southeast Queensland AFL sides. The Gold Coast Suns against Freo tonight, 7:40 p.m. At Metricon Stadium. They turn the corner last week, a big win over the GWS. Yeah,
it's probably a win they expected to have realistically because of the situation, and we've spoken about on a regular basis of how you can see in the Gold Coast Suns the body shape changing, and the being a bit stronger, where you can see in the GWS they're not quite there at the moment. So that probably went a long way from their winning the game. They're just their physicality, and look, it's. At home, I think it's become a bit of a fortress, even though Port got over us last time. I think we're more than competitive now, and that's the main thing. And, Freo, probably with their injury factor, that they're going to be, pretty much there if they're on their game. So let's back the Suns and let's hope they get over the line.
Absolutely. And the Brisbane Lions, they're playing tomorrow afternoon at the SCG, 1:10 p.m. Hence the NAFL have to go on so early. How are they going to go against the reigning premiers?
Well, the Swans... Look, as I always allude to, they're not a great goal-kicking side. They haven't got the key forwards, but they seem to just keep racking them up, and they're just their work rate. I think the majority of the goals they kick seem to come through their midfield and high forward. So they're just a complete unit. They play really good defensive football. They strangle sides, and then they go on and they've got a great overlap running football. So they're going to be hard to beat. But the Lions had a win last week against the Demons, and that's the main thing. And I think they played, the Demons. So it's probably they should have won it too.
Come on, they were out there on the field.
Like you don't remember it.
Winning form's good form. So let's hope the Lions can get over the line there.
That's it. We'll take a quick look at the AFL ladder heading into the sixth round. Essendon on top. Port Adelaide still up there with them, unbeatenly. Geelong Cats in third, also unbeaten. They're the three unbeaten teams. We've got Hawthorn, Sydney, Collingwood, Richmond in seventh for Darren, Fremantle in eighth. That's your top eight. Carlton, Adelaide Crows, Gold Coast Suns, Brisbane Lions, North Melbourne, West Coast Eagles, St Kilda, Western Bulldogs, Melbourne, and then GWS down the bottom.
Just a question for Lee. Adelaide, mate. No Tippett, now no Walker. Where are they at?
Probably one or two below Richmond, and the end of the Richmond's traditional spot of ninth, I think, will now be sort of 11th or 12th.
You might take their spot.
We'll take your spot in the 8.
Yeah, the 8 is gone. There's no question about that. We've got nothing up forward. No. It's a hope now.
That was
It's
awful.
simply a hope. It's a rebuilding year. That's what it is. It's a rebuilding year.
I'm going to pull you out of this hole, Lee. It's time to talk some motorsport. I'm not going to torture you too much longer. A little bit of a different flavour to motorsport this week. They're not quite motorised, but they are on wheels. The Australian BMX Championships.
Yes, the Subaru BMX National Championships are being held as we speak, basically at the Sleeman Sports Complex just up the road at Chandler, I should say. Started out earlier in the week, and then they had what they call a sprockets clinic with the young 3 to 7-year-olds were sort of tutored by the elite riders in Caroline Buchanan, Sam Willoughby, and Lauren Reynolds, to name a few. There's families have travelled all from across the country. I know of some people that I grew up with. They're actually up here in Adelaide. They've been up here for a week, spending with the family holiday. So there's been different categories over the last 3 days that have been decided. Great to see on Thursday night the elite. They called it an Oceania Championship. You know, it's funny because I come from the karting background, and you see so many different categories. And I see BMX, and they've got twice as many as what we've got. It's trying to understand all these different categories. But on Thursday night, they had the Oceania Championship. They had some New Zealand riders in there as well. And Caroline Buchanan won the elite women's, and Sam Willoughby won the elite men's. Melinda McLeod from Mackay finished second to Caroline Buchanan in the elite women's. But a number of Queenslanders already tasted success in the national championships. Beanley rider Desiree Barnes took out the 11-year-old girls category on Thursday. So, great to see some local talent coming through. And BMX has really thrived over the last couple of years since it was included in the Olympic Games as an actual sport. It was an exhibition sport. I think it was in Beijing in China. And since then, it's just come along leaps and bounds. And I'm going to head out there tomorrow to see the finals day's action. But gets underway today with the riders in the under 14, 15 and 16-year-old groups on the 20 inches.
Yeah, just the thing on the BMX, mate. Look, a lot of us, and we all see it, the kids recreationally ride around skate parks and so on and so forth. Do you think by having it as an Olympic game and actually classified now as a genuine sport, do you reckon it gets these kids, gives them a bit more of a focus?
Well, it certainly does. And it's funny because I was it was probably about 6 or 8 years ago now. I was on a plane coming back from a race meeting. I was sitting next to a guy, and he was a BMX rider. And I just started talking to him, and it was when it had just been announced that the BMX was now going to be an exhibition and hopefully become an actual gold medal contender. And he said it gave the sport a huge shot in the arm because it gave it some credibility to the general public. Even it was only once every 4 years, but they're so close with the UCI. They're governed by the same body that governs every other cycling event around the world. They're sort of the offshoot cousin of cycling, effectively. But now being at the Olympics, it gives them so much credibility. You think of some of the guys who have come through, and they're starting to become a name in Australian sport because they are at the Olympics.
Right. Yeah. There was that, because there was cycling and there was off-road cycling, which we all knew about. It's a sort of one in between, isn't it? It's a happy medium.
Yeah, and it's something where you can have the whole family involved. And I was made a comment before about the families that travel, like the two kids ride and the dad's riding, and they're all riding together and enjoying the time. And the opening ceremony, I think, is just about to kick off for today's action, and then they'll have the racing for the 14, 15, and 16-year-old boys and girls. Also, the elite categories are on today in the 20 inches, and then the 30-plus masters on the what we call the BMX, the old 20 inches. And tomorrow's action is all about the 24-inch cruiser. So same thing, just slightly different bike, which is on tomorrow. So great to see Queensland, and I'm very keen to get up there and have a look at the facility because. From all reports, it's a world-class facility that we've got in our own backyard. It's great to see.
That's the stuff. Darren, just quickly before we move on from this topic, I mean, sports like, ancient Roman wrestling aren't in the Olympics anymore, but it's great to see a sport like BMX come in and thrive as a result.
Oh, look, I think it was a long time coming. I mean, if you take a look at things like mountain bike racing, which you sort of think as being the big daddy of all of that, that's where Cadel Evans came from. He was a mountain bike world champion, and now in fact, this weekend I forgot to point out before, he's actually starting in the Giro d'Italia for the first time in 3 years, which is one of the 3 Grand Tours, along with the Tour de France. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was probably left out longer than it should have been.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it's also a case of having all the ducks in a row to make sure that when they did get there, it was a success. And that's probably one of the keys to everything.
Well, China was huge, wasn't it? I mean, China was huge. I mean, and Australia had people like, what was his name? Kamikaze from our area down
yes,
there.
How could you forget his name? Kamikaze.
I mean, nobody. I remember when we were doing the show down south, and I don't even recall actually saying his proper name. Because it was just too much fun.
That is his legal name.
Yeah,
Kamikaze.
There you go.
Yeah, just straight through.
Yeah, he actually made the final. He was one of the favourites for that Beijing event. From memory, he crashed out in the final. But certainly, that was a iconic sort of name.
Absolutely.
To remember for the BMX. So I said, haven't got motors, but certainly a motorised sport. In the human variety.
That's it.
We'll have a look at that tomorrow.
That's it. And we move back to motorised sports, mate. There's some local karting news going on.
Yeah, certainly. Young Callum Walker, who hails from Cornubia, racing in the Castrol Edge Stars of Karting Series this year. He finished 5th last weekend at the second round of the series in South Australia's Bolivar Raceway. Callum, certainly, he's a young kid who is... basically, him and his family have dedicated a lot of time and a lot of effort to get behind the wheel and get to the elite level of karting. His dad, Murray Walker, is very heavily involved in various other forms of motorsport as well. No relation to the old F1 commentator, I was going to say. No, not Murray, but... Callum had a disappointing run in the first round. He's fought back and is now 7th in the standings and only 11 points out of 5th, and certainly coming a long way and showing some good speed there in the pro junior ranks. A couple other Queenslanders close to local to us. Kyle Ensby, who hails from Sunshine Coast, he finished 2nd to the Dutchman Joey Hansen, who took out the pro gearbox ranks. And also Chris Hayes from the Gold Coast finished 3rd, so in the pro gearbox. Great to see some other local Toowoomba guys. Brooke Top finished up in the top 5 for the pro light category. So a lot of good young Queenslanders are around in the karting scene.
Absolutely right. And before we move away from the world of motorsport, Darren, I know you've got some broader results and news happening.
Yeah, just the usual suspects with NASCAR. It's the big one this weekend. We are in Talladega. I know you want to do it, Lee.
Yeah.
Boogity.
He's got 2 first names. Yeah, but really, and you can bet they'll probably push the Talladega Nights thing. I think they did it. They've done it most years since that movie came out. But Marcus Ambrose 16th after second practice, and he's currently a fair way down from there in the standings at the moment too. He's sitting around about 23rd at the moment. But this is a big one. This is the longest circuit they race on. It's the fastest circuit they race on. It's also a restrictor plate circuit. So this is the home of what they call the big one, the big crash. Yeah. And you can bet there'll be another big one in this one. So there's one race here at this time of the season, and later on in the season when we're in the middle of the chase, it'll be on. So they haven't done qualifying yet, but that's the situation as far as practice is concerned. And the other thing that's on this weekend, because everybody else is pretty much in a break at the moment, is the World Endurance Championship for basically Le Mans prototype cars. And at the moment, the Audis are looking very ominous for Le Mans later on in the year. They're taking the top 3 spots after qualifying already, and that race kicks off 5 o'clock our time. It's 6 hours of Spa-Francorchamps at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So Audi look like they're going to start dominating this category of motor racing yet again this year.
Yeah, no surprise there, and hopefully we can see Porsche come back and give them a hurry up. But John Martin, Queenslanders John Martin, I believe, is competing in an LMP2 car or something along the lines over there as well. So great to see him. Just going back to NASCAR quickly, there, guys, that Cheris Pastrana, the freestyle motocross rider, now turned NASCAR driver, has taken his first pole position in the nationwide race, in the Aaron 312 NASCAR nationwide race. Danica Patrick was in her first nationwide race since the opening Daytona event. She qualified fourth. Denny Hamlin also makes his return to the wheel after injuring his back a few weeks back. There's talk that he may only do sort of a few laps and then hand over to what we'll call a co-driver effectively, because he's not sure. They're not sure how long he will actually last. So there's talk of him handing over to Brian Vickers on the first caution. So therefore, Hamlin will still get the championship points. But the car will finish at the hands of Vickers. But be interesting to see, because he does not want to injure that back. And even Talladega is a place where you don't want to be hanging around just the back of the field just to be safe, because it's going to hurt when the big one comes.
Lee,
sorry, Darren, you go.
I was just going to say, I've been looking around for John Martin's name all morning, and I couldn't read. I'm going up and down this qualifying sheet out of Spa, and wouldn't you believe it? Lee brings up the name, and he finally turns up. He's qualified 14th. Don't you hate that?
Mate, I've got the magic for you. Magic happens here. Just wait for Ricky Bobby.
Let's go. Let's see. And as Ricky Bobby says, if you're not first, you're last at Talladega Night. So we've got to go to a break here on SportsScene. Shake it back. We'll be back in shortly. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Eric Banner, patron of the Australian Childhood Foundation. There were over 300,000 reports of children being abused in Australia last year alone. It's a problem we have to face up to. Child abusers are counting on you to do nothing. But there is something you can do. By going to stopchildabusenow.com.au, you can find out how we can help protect our children. So please, stop doing nothing.
Veterans, their partners and war widows may be eligible to receive assistance from the Department of Veteran Affairs for one-on-one exercise conditioning and or rehabilitation programs with a doctor's referral to an exercise physiologist. Veterans who hold gold or white DVA pension cards and who reside in the Logan City area are encouraged to telephone Rebecca on 0437 542 095 for more information.
If you want the latest and best movies on the big screen, plus a delicious morning tea, all for a very low admission price, then you must come along to the 101 FM monthly movies at station sponsor, the Hyperplex Cinemas Logan Home. Keep listening for details of the next screening and then join us, Logan City's 101 FM.
101 FM. You're listening to Saturday Sports Scene on your station, 101 FM.
Welcome back to Sports Scene here on 101 FM. It's 13 minutes to 10. Your next fresh news update coming up at the top of the hour. Just a reminder, you can join your station 101 FM as we broadcast live from Mays Cottage this Sunday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Peter Taylor will be playing the music and speaking with interesting people about Logan's heritage. That's this Sunday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at Mays Cottage, Kingston. Park and ride from the Kingston Butter Factory, sponsored by Logan City Council's reminder of that. It's Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck and Darren Madigan all here with you, taking you up to the top of the hour. And Darren, we'll go to you now for this one. The world of netball, what's happening with the local scene first, and we'll get into the ANZ Championship as well.
Sure. Let's take a look at the Queensland Champions Cup. During the week, the Elite Development Squad played the Golden South Jaguars. Paul is going to kill me for that. 50-27. It was a massive win. And the development squad was without Gretel Tippett. She was with the national squad at the moment. But yeah, a great win, 23 goals, and Coach Paula Stewart will be absolutely ecstatic about that. McDonald Steel Cats play the Brisbane West Lions in Townsville tonight, and also tonight at 8:30 p.m. the Logan Wildcats will be playing the Suncoast Lynx at the University of Sunshine Coast. So that's a different venue for top-level netball, and if you're in the Logan area, get on up to the Sunshine Coast, make the trip up the motorway and support the Wildcats, Hillary Collins' team. Carina Lee's Club Tigers playing the Cougars. The replay of the grand final at the State Netball Centre, 8:30 p.m. tonight, should be an absolute cracker and a top-of-the-table clash in the Queensland Champions Cup. Currently at the moment, as you guessed it, Tigers and Cougars sitting up the top. Golden South Jaguars sitting on third place. Suncoast Lynx make up the 4. Then the McDonald Steelcats from Townsville. Brisbane West Lions, the Elite Development Squad who aren't eligible for the finals, and the Wildcats yet to rack up a win. They're currently zipping 7 at the moment, so Hillary's team need to pick up a bit there.
Fingers crossed they can get them on, mate, and hopefully in the next coming weeks we can get Paula and Hillary onto the show as we up our coverage of the local comps.
Absolutely. As far as the ANZ Championship is concerned, the ladder at the moment: Adelaide Thunderbirds, Melbourne Vixens, Queensland Firebirds, and Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic making up the 4. That's your final 4. And the West Coast Fever, Central Pulse, Southern Steel, New South Wales Swifts, Northern Mystics and Tactics make up the rest of the comp. This weekend we have...
Was that Adelaide on top there?
Adelaide Thunderbirds, mate.
I know Adelaide Crows aren't going to be in the finals this year, so I'm just pulling on everything, mate. I'm pulling on everything.
he misses nothing, Lee.
He's going to be watching netball for the rest of the season now.
Competition there later.
All right, tomorrow at midday or 12:10, because it is the television game on SBS, we have the Queensland Firebirds at home to the West Coast Fever at the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre. Big problems for the Firebirds in the middle. Chelsea Pittman out for a couple of weeks with injury. The youngsters are going to have to step up, and that does bring the West Coast Fever right in with a chance on this one, but I think the Firebirds can hold on. They do lift at home because the home crowd is so good here in Brisbane. Melbourne Vixens are at home to the Central Pulse. I think that's a no-brainer. The Vixens will get up. Karen Howarth looks like she'll be making the comeback there for the Vixens, and she was an absolute star shooter and came out of the Queensland Firebirds actually from years ago. Last year, and was an absolute superstar. Northern Mystics at home to the Tactics, and I think I'm going to pick the Mystics on that one. Southern Steel at home to the New South Wales Swifts, picking the Swifts on that one, travelling over to New Zealand. And the Adelaide Thunderbirds win what should be a very good match at home to the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic, but the Adelaide Thunderbirds at the moment are just powering along, so it'd be a brave person to actually tip against them on Monday night.
Good news for your South Australians there, Lee. Darren, another thing I know you've been big on in the past week, the world of European football. What's been happening?
Oh, look, it's been amazing. The UEFA Champions League and the Europa League have their finalists decided now. The baton has been passed from Spanish football in these competitions. The Germans now dominate. It's Borussia Dortmund will play Bayern Munich in the final. Bayern Munich went to the new camp in front of 96,000 people during the week. They were already 4-0 up from their home leg and put another 3 on the best team that is regarded as ever played the game. So you can well and truly say I think the baton has passed now. Bayern Munich are probably the best team in the world at the moment, and they had a 7-0 aggregate win over Barcelona. Borussia Dortmund 4-3 aggregate win over Real Madrid as well, and that is going to be an absolute corker of a match because both teams are sitting 1 and 2. Bayern Munich have already won the Bundesliga in Germany, and their second place is the previous premiers there, Borussia Dortmund, so it should be an absolute cracker of a match. As far as the Europa League is concerned, Chelsea will play Benfica in Amsterdam on the when are we playing that final? That's the 15th of May in the Amsterdam Arena. And Benfica from Portugal, they were absolutely amazing this week against Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce scored a goal first up, and it was an away goal, which meant Benfica had to score 3 to go through. Well, they did it. And Cardozo scoring in the 66 minutes was the clincher. It was a beauty, and we're going to see some great matches there, but I think Chelsea will probably win against Benfica in the Europa League final on the 15th, and I've been on the bandwagon of Bayern Munich since the start of the competition, and as much as I'm a bit itchy about it, since they're playing Borussia, I'm going to pick Bayern Munich.
Fair enough, mate. Look, and one of the things, like for me, is like a sports lover that would love to go to great sporting events. One of those massive League Cup finals, you get 90,000 people all singing. The atmosphere would just be amazing. So that's one of the things. One day, hopefully, get to go and see that stuff. We've got to move on here on SportzScene. We've got 6 minutes till the top of the hour and the next fresh news update. Kevin Braysher, Craig Crowley, Ethan James, Lee Hanatscheck, Darren Madigan, all here with you. We'll take a look now at the world of rugby union in Queensland Premier Rugby. They're up to round 5 now. These games to be played this afternoon. We've got Norths up against GPS, Souths up against Brothers, Sunnybank up against East, and West up against University of Queensland. The latter at the moment, Brothers up the top, GPS, Souths in third, University of Queensland in fourth. We've got East, Sunnybank, Sunny Coast, West, Gold Coast Breakers, and Norths down the bottom. It's a very quick wrap of the Premier Rugby, as we'll keep a better eye on that in the future weeks. Into the world of the Super 15, we had a couple of games last night. The Blues 18-17 over the Stormers, and the Rebels went down to the Chiefs 39-33. The Reds this weekend, they're away. They're over in Western Australia to take on the Force, who have shown some decent form in recent weeks, but you'd have to think the Reds start favourite in that. A couple of the main talking points from the world of rugby this week. Digby Ioane signs a big money contract to go and play Japanese rugby, $2.5 million a year, $2.5 million over 2 years, rather, I should say. Darren, one of the things I liked about this, as much as it's sad to see one of Queensland's great rugby players away from the Reds, I like the fact that he didn't, pretend that he wasn't going for money, so that he's going there to protect his family. I can't hold that against a guy who gets a big offer like that to go and set his family up.
Absolutely not. And look, we knew this was coming. I mean, he was going to go somewhere big, and he was obviously going to get a big contract because of his quality. I mean, I think the Reds tried to play it up a bit for a little while, but I think, once the decision was made, the decision was made. The only thing that worries me about all of this stuff is, it goes back to the same old thing we've been talking about for weeks now. The rule for the Wallabies has to be changed, because he will now be ineligible to play for the Wallabies.
Yeah. And that's a huge loss for Australian rugby, because he's one of those certain players that will always be in the side if fit. And, he's a big loss.
Yeah, it's an insane rule. I mean, no other sport... And let's face it, what's the point of it?
No.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If you're playing soccer, you don't get in the Socceroos to play big games unless you are playing overseas.
Yeah.
The coaches basically said that. The last 3 coaches have said that.
It's true. It's true.
It defies common sense.
What it does do, though, it opens up a spot for another bloke who is the other, I guess, rugby union issue we were going to bring up here on the show, Izzy Folau. Now, Jake White has said, the Brumbies coach during the week, he said it would be an indictment on the Australian jumper if Izzy Folau was picked in the Lions, given that he's only been in the code for such a short time. Do we agree with that assessment, guys? I'll throw it out open. Ethan, go to you first.
Yeah, they haven't hesitated in picking some of the leagueies pretty early on in the past. I mean, they had Wendell Saylor, Takiri, Matt Rogers, who pretty much waltzed into the Aussie lineup there. So people are saying the same things about their selections then, from memory. But yeah, I haven't seen too much of Izzy, so it's hard to sort of see where he really stands there. And considering the depth that they have got some very good outside backs. So he could be a squad member perhaps, but whether or not he forces his way in. So.
Darren, what are your thoughts on it? Would it be an indictment on the Australian jersey to pick Izzy Folau this early in his rugby union career?
Absolutely not. It comes down to, as I keep saying every week, pick the best person for the job. If he turns out to be that person, then go for it. As far as I'm concerned, the old farts in their tweed jackets and their cigars, go away. It's fair income. Let the selectors pick the best squad. They're playing the Lions, for goodness sakes.
This is why we love you, Darren. Always good for an opinion. I agree with you totally. I think, if he's the best player for the position, pick him. The outside things don't matter. He may not be the best guy for the position. I have to wait and see how it comes up, but he may well be as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He might not get picked.
That's it. We'll look at the Australian Conference ladder at the moment. The Brumbies are out on top on 40 points. The Reds not far behind them on 37. Then we got the Waratahs down in third, the Rebels in 4, Western Force down in 5. That's the Australian Conference for the Super Rugby. Running out of time here on the show, but as we started last week and we'll continue to do, we're going to finish the show with our sure thing tip of the week. Mr. Craig Crowley, I'll start with you. What is your sure thing tip of the weekend?
Essendon GWS. Can Essendon win by 100 points? Sure thing.
You get $1.05.
No, $1.05.
No, if you pick 40 plus, you get $1.05. $1.05, like
ridiculous.
All right, so Essendon to win by 100 plus. Craig, that's his short thing
An
tip of the
easy
week.
5 cents.
How about you, Ethan? What do you like?
Sticking to the rugby league, so I'm liking St George Illawarra to upset Manly on Monday night. So
That's quite a brave one. Manly, a very good side.
That's true. Perhaps not a sure thing, but
no, it's I like it. It's a good
You can't go back on it, mate. It's got to be a sure thing.
It's in stone now. Lee, what about you?
Sure thing. Carlton to beat Melbourne.
Oh, come on.
They're $1.01.
That's too easy. That's being too safe.
They're $1.01. That is safe.
Both you guys taking the easy way out.
Hey, when you look at the AFL this weekend, every game, the favourite is odds of $1.90 or less.
Thanks for that, Tom.
Thanks for that, Tom. Yeah.
We're running out of time here on SportzScene. Darren, what's your short thing?
The absolute most entertaining thing that will come out of sport in the following week will be a bunch of rich people sitting in New South Wales steward's room acting like children.
I love it. That's a good one. And I'm going for the Brumbies to beat the Crusaders tomorrow afternoon in the Super 15. Thank you for listening.